The idea of worshiping false gods, it's not just about worshiping statues. Worshiping a false god is any time we look out there to the world as our source, anything in the world as our source of good, our source of happiness, our source of value, then we are worshiping a false god, because any goodness that's out there in the world is a byproduct of that essence of God's goodness in us that takes shape in the world. But any good comes from this source. Nothing in the world is something that we can depend on for our good, because the world is always changing. The only thing that's changeless is the nature of God at the center of our being. So, worshiping a false god, we worship the false god of other people's opinions. I can't express love or joy or beauty or creativity in my unique way, in the way that I might like to, because of others might criticize me. The false god of always having to succeed in a certain way. If I fail, if I try something and fail, that diminishes my value, so I better not try. The god of, I have to struggle in life. If we struggle, we are, so much more committed, and the things that we struggle for have so much more value. The god of what beauty looks like, what success looks like, how we need to be more like that, how we can't be happy because we're not young enough, we're not beautiful enough, we're not this enough. The god of what I can or cannot do based on my age, my religion, my gender, my social class, my ethnicity, my sexual orientation, whatever. We have all these ideas that are out there that some of us have carried in our consciousness that have limited us from experiencing the joy of being who and what we are in our own unique way. So, sometimes we may not be consciously aware of our limiting thoughts. These ideas are things that we picked up based on our experiences. It could be just ideas that are predominant in our culture, what we were taught in our homes, and we've just possibly come to accept them over time, and we don't realize how they're limiting us. We simply go along with them for some time, but then something in us feels repressed. I know we've all had a time where something in us just felt like, I just feel there's something more that I can be. There's something more that I can experience. There's something more that I can step into, as we heard in Nadine's song. And that's the Spirit of God, that infinite, invisible in us that's capable of showing up in so many ways beyond what we've known or believed in the past, and it knows the greater possibilities. And when we tie this back to, the story of Hanukkah, we'd see that for a period of time, the Jewish people followed the rules of their oppressors. Some may have even become accustomed to it. This is just the way it has to be. And maybe there were those that just didn't want to cause trouble that went along. But that sense of repression built up over time, and gradually, that army built up, that they could go and speak out against this repression. And similarly, when we begin to feel that inspiration of spirit within us not to buy into limiting beliefs, not to be held back by others' ideas of how we should be and what we need to show up as to feel successful or abundant. When we first get those feelings, it's not always easy, is it, to shift into that new way of being. We may have that sense, we may want that greater experience of love, of joy, of creativity, but it's unfamiliar. We just don't know yet. Can I really have that? It can take time, like it took time to build up the resistance army. It takes time to build up our consciousness. And then when we do, when we start to have that greater faith, when we start to actually believe that this can be done and we move forward, we get back to the temple, there's still some residual old thoughts and beliefs. The cleaning up of the temple is like getting rid of all of those old ideas that still are haunting us and holding us back from our greater experience and expression of joy and goodness.